Final Stop Brazil, Book 2, Life After Hell, Chapter 50. Marriage as the only way to remain in Brazil. Somehow the friendship with Tanya had been lost on the way. First off, I didn't have the time anymore to see her every evening because I had to take care of Sampa. Secondly, and this was really the main reason, I could still not bear to pass the house of Geo, or when I was with Tanya to look over at his house and to know that he was so close and yet worlds apart. It hurt me too much to spend my time with those two lovebirds and with their friends, all couples. Without Marcio, Tanya went nowhere, not even for a drink with me. A conversation among women was almost impossible, because Marcio was always present. On the other hand, I had developed during those recent weeks a real family relationship with Lucia, the mother of Fabiano. She liked me very much and told all very proud that I was her daughter-in-law. Lucia was an Orisha, which, but this is not a negative term for the skills these people have to recognize a lot of other people, and knew I was not happy without me telling her anything. She saw me as a blonde woman, though she never met me as a blonde, not even saw a photo. She saw many things, like someone really is. Fabiano was consistently nice, even promised to organize a computer for me. He was a true artist when it came to repairing and assembling computer parts, and actually built usable computers from spare components. He lived only for this, which was his passion. Of women he didn't want to know. He and a friend were about to open a cyber cafe. Even with Fabiano's sister, Katja, I became friends very soon. So it came that I often spent my weekends with my new family, instead of with Tanya, who didn't like this change at all. The great Salvador show was ahead, the one Geo and I had wanted to go together to. Of course, I still wanted to go there, since pretty much all groups were playing, whose music I absolutely loved. On the other hand, I was not conclusive to go alone to such a show. Defiantly, I told myself that Geo was not worth to be missing this show. However, I could not really decide whether to go or not, and pushed it ahead of me to buy a ticket. Finally, after long thoughts about it, I asked Tanya to talk to Geo. I wanted him to know how unhappy I was still about that he had left me simply without a word and without reason, and I wanted to let him know that I would invite him to the samba show, regardless of whether we were going as friends there or as a couple. Whether Tanya actually talked to him, I was not so sure. Anyway, she promised me to do so. Friday night after work, I took a bus straight to the restaurant Lucia owned in Lauro de Freitas. This night I was meeting with Katja, Fabiano's sister, to go later next door to the club where samba was played live. After Lucia had closed the restaurant, she accompanied us. Right away I liked the club. The band played very well and I was swept away again. Lucia and I danced together a real samba paulista, but she was tired and went home. But not without counseling me before. Take care of yourself. Don't leave your bag unattended. Don't drink too much. And yet another mother I had. Katja reassured, don't worry, I'm taking care of my sister-in-law. I was once again the main attraction, and various men were trying their luck during the whole night. I drank far too much beer, but pulled myself together out of respect towards Fabiano, because many people knew Lucia and her family. But nobody knew, of course, that the planned marriage was a fake. I didn't want to make an idiot of Fabiano. The offers were becoming more and also more obvious when Katja suddenly said, what happens here stays with us. If you like someone here, then grab him. My brother will not know anything of me. In addition, he has no interest in you anyway, except friendship. I let Katja give my number to a few men, but I was not really interested. Nevertheless, it was a fun evening, and my rather disturbed self-esteem was a little up. We had much to laugh about, especially about the group of gays on the dance floor, making their jokes and performing a super dance number. But even on our way home, the evening was still long from over. Plenty tipsy, I whined that I urgently needed a toilet. To come home faster, Katya suggested taking motor taxis. "Okay, you take the old rider there and I take the handsome young one here," I demanded, and sullenly allowed the guy to put the helmet on my head. As I sat behind him, holding on tightly, I started chatting him up. I was so filled up that I even struggled to speak Portuguese. Noticed myself that I babbled quite slowly. The rider found it all very cute and entered the game. At the corner a few yards in front of Lucia's door, I got down and was bold enough to kiss him on the mouth. This was getting too much for Katya now, and she stepped in. "Think nothing of it. She's full like an opossum," she advised Raphael, while pulling the helmet roughly from my head and my ears almost with it. "Watch out, my earring got stuck. You are tearing my ears off," I complained. Besides, I know very well what I'm doing. Neither of the two really believed that. Still, I made Katya give Raphael my mobile number because I no longer remembered it. With rolling eyes, she gave him the number, which he immediately stored in his phone, to be leaving us afterwards. The next thing was a vicious street dog chasing us up to the front door. Still running, I shouted at Katya, "Open that door!" To which she replied casually, "The key's in your bag." I threw the bag over to her and shouted again, "Search it now!" This adventure sobered me up, and we were still laughing about this night's happenings when we were already laying down on the large mattress we shared. Early next morning I got up to go home and take care of Sampa. Above all, I needed coffee first. I had promised Lucia to help in the restaurant. So shortly after feeding Samba and taking coffee, I was back on my way towards Laura de Freitas. The restaurant was very busy this morning because the Baianos eat hot food for breakfast already. I had my hands full with washing dishes, serving food, clear tables, peeling potatoes, making salad, and talking to the guests. Lucia, Wagner, Fabiano's brother, Katya, and I were a good team, and it was fun, especially as Wagner put my MP3 into the PC and we listened to my samba music while working. In between, Katya and I had our fun when I showed her how many missed calls I already had received. Many guests I already knew from the night before. The rest was introduced to me. Some of them invited me for a drink. To me it was a bit uncomfortable when Fabiano joined us at lunchtime and the guests shouted, "Rita, your marido is here," for I had long since a new object of desire in the eye, and Fabiano no longer on the list. But now I remembered again and pulled myself together. Fabiano, just as embarrassed, quickly left again after lunch when someone shouted after him, "Fabiano, but you have really a nice bride." Tired and with aching feet, I left at 5 o'clock to go home. But the rest I could forget about because Raphael called me now and wanted to visit me. Although I was tired, but I thought to myself that I had to take this opportunity, for so soon it surely would not come back, to have just sex with a guy for a change. More I didn't even want for the moment, but even that did not work out, because he was also one of those idiots here, not to take condoms. So nothing happened except kissing. I had quite lost interest anyway. Sober as I was now, he didn't look all too handsome anymore. It was Joe I wanted, but he still would not be seen nor heard. To my message by Tanya, he didn't respond up to now. I wondered if Tanya had really given it to him. Tanya, basically trying to force her opinion on everyone else, was against it from the beginning. But the following Sunday she assured me that she had spoken with Joe. He even had promised her to be talking to me, but I already heard this before. Additionally, I had to listen to Tanya's complaint that I made myself rare when I returned from the beach in Itapua to see her. Another week went by pretty fast, so I had hardly any chance for breathing. Mondays still began very quiet, though. The reason was my money was finished, and I used my bus fare to make a few purchases, which made me remain with exactly 2.50 reais. Long since I had thought that I could not go on like this. Neither did I want to. Sitting at home, staring at the walls, without a television, without a PC, and without jail. I could not even afford to buy books. Magazines were expensive, and most were complete mindless idiocy. To my chagrin, Julia had answered my email, in which I had asked her to send my TV, that she had given it away. She had mistakenly understood it, that she could do that because I no longer wanted it. I had to busy myself, and that in a way that I earned money, to buy me things I needed. So I spread in the internet a lot of ads offering translations of text, but not yet had a single request. I hoped for my salary the next day. After I got it in cash, I decided spontaneously after work to go to Iguatemi shopping center and bought me the ticket for the show. Defiantly, I decided not to be missing Sorriso Marotto, Pisciotti, Alexandre Pires, and Revelação because of Geo. He should go to hell. However, no matter how I tried to convince me to feel great pleasure to go there alone, I didn't. Tanya would have accompanied me, yes, but not without Marcio, and for both, with best will, I could not pay the entrance fee. Since I still had nothing to do at work, I built up my Orkut with photos and all the trimmings. I hinted that I was looking for a nice namorado and established contacts. All this, of course, much to the dismay of my boss. I tried using the Orkut to find someone who would go with me to the show, but received not even a response. These guys I could forget. Thursday I met with Liege to go out with her. She dragged me in the Pelourinho in a dance club I didn't like at all. Middle-aged women, or rather the leftovers, occupied the tables in large majority, waiting for those old blokes, being present in a weak number to invite them for dancing. This was mummy pushing, pure. A band played live music, but it was so bad that my toenails were rolling up. Once again, nothing but costs. But when I went outside to smoke, I quite often did it because I was bored to death. I noticed a missed call on my cell phone. The number I didn't know. Bingo, a large order of translation. A woman needed 80 pages of text translated from Portuguese into German. We agreed on a preliminary work of 15 pages at a reasonable price of 3 reais per page. I initially offered low rates because I needed clients. How I should perform this work without a computer in the house, I did not know, in fact. I needed a computer urgently, also to finally move forward with my book. 1 day later, I received the next order. This was, however, only 1 page of text to translate from Portuguese into Spanish. But still, I finished this text beside my work, and the client paid me 10 reais in form of credit for my cellular, for simplicity. Bank transfers in Brazil are very expensive, and small amounts like this would leave nothing. Afterwards, I started beside my daily work with a translation of these 15 pages the client had sent me by email. To make it all a bit faster, I used an online translator, but these translation engines on the internet are so miserable that you have to revise and edit every single sentence. Fortunately, I had dear colleagues holding my back free. Nevertheless, I couldn't finish it all, so I decided on Saturday not to go to help Lucia in the restaurant, but instead going to Stella Maris and use Icaro's PC, since I had already agreed to see Julia in the afternoon, who was visiting Salvador. From early in the morning I worked to get this text ready the same day, managed even the proofreading and sending it to the client together with the account number of Italva, hoping she would pay. It had been a terribly complicated text with specific words even my colleagues had no idea about, and the contents was about studies of economic perspectives with biological and historical background of the Itaipu hydroelectric power plant, which is located on the border to Paraguay. Julia was very surprised by my change and, above all, how much weight I lost during this short time. She sent me greetings from Graça and her daughter, Edivalda, and the other friends. But when she reported that Marcelo from Diadema had called again and reacted deeply disappointed when she had told him that I was now living in Bahia, I had to swallow hard. My God, how much I missed Sao Paulo. I never felt so lonely there like I did here, where I felt to go down the drain. But nobody, however, wanted to understand it, with all those beautiful beaches here, and how Julia had raved before everything was better in Salvador, even the buses. Sure, if you came here as a tourist, it was certainly beautiful, even if you had the wherewithal to pay for the minibus, a fee of 4 reais, with easy chairs and air conditioning. Very nice. But for me, nothing was beautiful anymore, because I could not even afford to make a trip to the beach, maybe once a month, and that was it. Sao Paulo was much cheaper to live, and in my view, much safer than here. Here the people lock themselves in the house by 10 o'clock at night, because it is too dangerous on the road. In Sao Paulo, life rages for 24 hours. But of this no one wanted to know anything. Nevertheless, it was nice seeing Julia again. I also wanted no quarrel with her, and avoided the subject of the television. It was getting late, and I had to leave even though Italva suggested sleeping in her house. I had no desire to do so, and besides, I still wanted to buy a chemical bomb against the fleas and ticks that infested Sampa again, and brought me almost to despair, before I took a bus to Itinga. As indicated, I dripped these anti-flea drops on Sampa's neck. After a short time, however, he began to cry out in pain and ran like crazy through the house, threw himself repeatedly to the ground. I got real scared about it. This medicine seemed to have spread on his small body and burned him actually. I couldn't think of nothing better, so I pulled out an old t-shirt from the closet to cover him with it. This way I could calm him down finally. Relieved, I went to bed. I was already asleep when Sampa came upstairs to my bedroom, and I was awakened by his choking noises. He could hardly breathe, started to throw up on the porch, and did not stop again. He retched and vomited, choked and vomited, got white foam in front of his snout as if he had rabies. In between, he kept running up and down like mad. I knew what had happened. He had licked his fur, and this way the poison, and this stuff was real poison as I realized now, had entered his stomach. Then he collapsed, exhausted. Only now I really came to myself and realized the extent of what I had done. This little dog was poisoned and fighting for his life. I tied the t-shirt tightly around the body so that he could not go on licking, kept him firmly pressed against me. Desperate, I wondered what to do to help him, but had to watch helplessly my little dog suffering. He then was quiet in my arms, but the look of his glassy eyes told me that he would die. Dissolved in tears and desperation, I tried to call for help with my mobile phone. Pressed the stored number of the vet. Nothing. No one attended. I tried to call Tanya. The phone was off. Finally, I forgot my pride and called Leo, who responded immediately. Listening to what I told him, sobbing, he advised me to give Sampa milk against the poison. Otherwise, he said, was not much to do at 4 o'clock in the morning. Here was no veterinary hospital nearby, he told me sorrowful. I had not the slightest interest to steer the conversation to other tracks, and thanked him for the counsel, apologized for the disturbance, and ended the conversation. Since Sampa was neither taking water nor milk, but licked the milk from my finger, I gave him the milk in this lengthy way while calming him with soothing words. It was already light when he finally made it and was out of life danger. Quietly he fell asleep in my arms, relieved but totally exhausted. I also went to bed again. Accordingly tired I was this Sunday when the big show was to take place. I would have rather not gone to the show, but I had the ticket and didn't want to lose the 40 reais. The Salvador Festa has also the name Camisa Colorida, which means colored shirt that one receives in exchange for the ticket. Without the colored shirt, one cannot even enter. While exchanging my ticket against the shirt, I met the security guard again, with whom I had flirted during the show of Bello. He recognized me first and started to talk to me immediately. "Where are you positioned today?" I asked him. He was in front of the stage. "Assure me a good position so I can take photos," I asked him. I was looking forward to a good place to shoot photos, but I had again cheered too soon because I realized that there were 4 stages. I didn't see Tantan again, and since the place quickly and immensely filled with people, I got no chance to look for him between the stages either. The show started again with some groups playing Barulho da Bahia. The whole time I wondered whether Geo was probably here, because this was his music. Without wanting it, I was looking out for him. When the group Harmonia de Samba started playing, I couldn't get forward nor backward. With difficulty, I was able to push through the crowd for taking pictures. Then the Bahian band Parangolé was playing, and the audience freaked out completely when they played their hit Balacobaco. Completely moronic, Barulho de Bahia without rhythm, without reasonable text, but it reminded me very much of Geo and how sexy he danced to the music. I moved away a little from the stage, went to a smaller one, shot some photos of a no-name band playing the same trash, but the vocalist was pleased at least to get attention from me. Strolling back to the main stage, I discovered a black man of exactly the stature and with muscular arms like Geo. I saw him only from behind. He was holding a black girl in his arms. The two were kissing. I almost stopped breathing and stared at them. Then the man turned around. It was not Geo. I breathed a sigh of relief. But just today I missed him so much. To this show we had planned to go together. I hadn't overcome this separation with Geo yet. This I knew now. Finally the show of Bishorty began, but now I had trouble seeing anything, let alone taking pictures. Bravely I still held on, but more and more people were streaming into the park, wet and wild. I could hardly get my feet on the ground anymore. Everywhere pushing and shoving. To make matters worse, drunkards and exhausted people sat in the middle of the park, and I almost fell over them. I fought my way through one corner to another, but where I really wanted or should go to I didn't even know so well myself. The group Sorriso Maroto was on stage, but I had no chance to see anything, only could listen. But alone, all around me couples enjoying the romantic music, kissing and caressing. For them, it didn't matter if they saw something or not. Frustrated, I tried to wade to the exit, but found nothing but bulks of people. So I was forced to ask the way out. Balance of the day: Sorriso Maroto, Revelação, Alexandre Pires, and Rodriguinho. All missed, and I fell exhausted into bed to sleep immediately. To make matters worse, I heard of Tanya. She and Marcio had held a barbecue the same Sunday together with friends. Geo also had been there and asked for me. This touched me very much. At least he was not at the show, let alone with a woman. Tanya reported that he had been quite surprised when she replied his question why I was not there, that I had gone to the show. Alone? Tanya had said very coldly, "No idea. You know Rita has a lot of friends here in Salvador, not just us. Probably she went there with someone. Or have you thought that she's sitting at home crying just because you haven't even responded to her invitation?" 2 weeks I didn't show up at anyone and licked my wounds. Only Sampa, who had fortunately survived the poisoning, I took care of, taught him a few small orders, took him for walks. He received all the affection no one else wanted from me. A very handsome dog Sampa was certainly not, but so what? We both were well matched, one team, underdogs of society. In the Orkut, I got to know someone who interested me primarily for his work. He was a musician, but at the same time organized and directed a music school and a theatre for amateur actors. All this was done for social reasons in his community, to get children off the streets. I was very impressed by his work and wished to get to know him better. Unfortunately, there were initially some embarrassing misunderstandings. I explained that I was not looking for a namorado, how it was written in my Orkut, since I had suffered far too much by a separation. He then wrote a very nice message, and I believed that we could become good friends. Then out of nowhere appeared an Eduardo and sent me emails at first, then messages. We met in the live chat or he called me, but real interest he couldn't wake. I had other things to worry about, because on my visit to my social worker she had told me that the judge decided not to give me a visa and therefore no working permit. It was reasoned that I would be deported after serving the sentence. A previous conversation with a lawyer paid by the state turned into an absolute fiasco. The man flatly rejected to help me because I was supposedly with him in the wrong place. I then insisted that he would make sure that I could go to the right place, to a judge. His attempts to get rid of me failed. I simply refused to leave, but with him I didn't want to talk any further. I clearly told him in the face that this was a waste of time. In fact, I made it for an audition with a judge who was willing to help, but unfortunately he had no influence in my process.